Hi, welcome back to another JoJo's match analysis video. I am Simon with me is Zarythe.
Yo.
And the characters we're going to take a look at today are Chaka, Ice, and Avdol. First match we're going to see here is Ice versus Avdol. We're going to talk about a little bit about what they should do and shouldn't do in the matchup, very briefly, just to introduce it, and then we're going to start immediately. All right.
Yeah. So first up, we have Ice versus Avdol here. This is a Japanese match. I do not believe that the names are listed in the video. So these players are, as far as we know, random Japanese players, anonymous. We don't know who these guys are.
Yeah, but considering what this Ice player will try to do and actually succeed in doing, if I remember correctly, he should be present in many of the Game Versus streams. He uses the same color, black and white,
and does the same kind of stuff. So a real quick rundown of this matchup. Both of these characters excel in stand-on normals, and what normals are just their stand-on button. So when you press light, medium, or heavy, those are your normals. Ice and Avdol both have probably the game's best normals in stand-on, and they're gonna
that's some ridiculous priority. They have quick startup, good hitboxes, good hurt boxes, good active frames, and also stupidly fast recovery, especially Vanilla Ice.
Yeah, and then
he can just spam his stand-on 2B and 2C pretty much liberally. Very few characters can challenge him on the ground, and even fewer can challenge him in the air. So if you want to end here, just keep on mashing. Really, jumping into Vanilla Ice is generally a mistake.
And the differences
for both of these characters, jumping is really bad.
And the differences between the characters are that Ice does not have the range to contest a lot of ranged characters, so he kind of has to get in, do a mix-up, get in a big combo. As we all know, Ice's tandems are stupid, and we'll go into that later. And Avdol is all about space control with projectiles, with anti-air, with good buttons. He wants to stay away, just keep poking at you, and Ice wants to get in. So that's kind of the matchup we're gonna look at.
Yeah, in this matchup, it's a real problem because both of these characters can turtle very easily, and in fact, the matchup revolves around who is more patient, pretty much. Because as soon as you start running your face into the opponent's buttons, it's kind of over. Because then they get the advantage. And as soon as the life advantage is there, suddenly you're pressed to get in and do something, and then they cheat out a combo on you, and Ice kills you off of that combo, while Avdol just gets on to keep bullying you.
Yeah.
It's not that as easy for him to get high damage. So I'd say the matchup is slightly in Ice's favor. But unlike Avdol, he doesn't have much to do at a range, so Avdol can kind of just do whatever he wants once he's away from him, do control and set up sensors and whatnot.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get into it.
So I don't remember what he does immediately here, but the first thing that Avdol usually does is try to build a little bit of ground and throw not sensors, crossfires like that. You'll see what you see a lot of is dash 2C and stand on 5As just to kind of see what he's gonna do. Oh, look at that! That situation. This is pretty interesting. He's gonna do it again, so I'm gonna talk when it happens. But he tries to do some sort of getter reset, which is pretty easily reactable, but it can work. And in fact, it's gonna work later.
So yeah, Ice's best combo starter is his 2A and standoff. So you'll see dashing 2A into just 2A into 214 C, I believe, to go in for
2A6C.
Yeah, 236C into whatever combo he can get with Tandem. Tries to go for a reversal, doesn't happen. Gets hit by that Avdol super there.
Yeah, after the super, immediately sets up a sensor. It's a really good situation to do it. And now this is really hard.
Just basically poking.
Yeah, that should have been end-tiered immediately.
Yeah.
It was super predictable jumping, and then he gets the ball punished.
Really quickly, let's go over the ball. It's a lot of new players get caught by this. First of all, if it goes behind you, so actually just get the pin here. If the ball goes behind you, it's not a cross-up. Just keep blocking this way, and you'll block the ball.
It's very hard for it to actually cross up. They have to delay it a lot. And if they're too close to the ground, that cannot happen. But generally speaking, what you want to do is just keep on blocking in the same direction. It'll pretty much work every time, and push block as soon as you see the hit come.
Yep.
Because if you don't, and push block late or not even push block, it's going to be that much harder to punish. And Avdol here specifically has a really strong punish, because he has actual juggles.
Yeah, real quick, the ball has 2 actions in the air. So the first action usually gets you close, gets the ice close, and the second one changes direction. So right after the second one starts, here he changes the direction. You want to push block and get a punish because this is negative, but if you don't push block, it becomes, I think, close to even. Just
no, it depends on the height. It very much depends on height. Like here, that was a punish.
That was a punish, yes, but it's really actually really hard to get the punish here.
Yeah, the thing about it that's stupid is that it has no grounded recovery. You have to hit him out of the air.
Yeah, you can't get the grounded punish ever.
Yeah, no context will that ever work unless like he blocks and he has no stand gouge and you get a block stand crash.
Yeah.
So Avdol managed to win. So look at that instant overhead. These types of instant overheads are a real problem for pretty much every character. Ice is very oppressive, and one of the reasons why is this. Because he can just do an instant overhead and then immediately back off and just cheat hits out of you. See, there he didn't push block and actually he landed and did a super.
Yeah. So let's go over that again real quick. Go for the ball. Changes direction. He doesn't push block
because he's trying to not get himself punished.
Yeah.
See, he actually didn't have to switch blocking direction.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, Avdol is able to move here, so he could have punished it.
Yeah, but it was too slow.
See, he's trying, but no recovery on the ground, so you go through the normal with the super and you punish the Bataton. So the ball is not not safe, but remember that if you don't know what to do against it, most likely you get punished by it. But the biggest thing is that always block the direction it was coming from, and you'll be fine.
Yeah,
it's not unblockable.
What I didn't do here, and it's pretty important actually. Didn't go for the unblockable, and this is important to note about Japanese players. Many times they just don't try hard. It seems like they're doing unoptimal things, and it's on purpose. Absolutely, it's not that they're bad players. They just don't do it.
So yeah, if you're a new player, one of the best things about Vanilla Ice is that whenever he gets a knockdown, almost any knockdown, doesn't matter which one, he gets an unblockable situation, which I think it's his 2-on-4, yeah?
Yes.
So his 2-on-4 in standoff gives him a move that hits overhead, and then he can hit low with 2A to create an unblockable meaty, and then he can go into another tandem combo from that. But Japanese players almost never do it, because it's unblockable and there's no way to defend against it, and it's an honor rule. They could do it, but they almost never do because they don't want to.
Yeah, they just don't want to win that easy, because Japanese players are very consistent at doing stuff like that, and so it'll just kind of be very unfair. They really don't like doing that. Yeah. But there is actually a way to fight it, though it's very hard. If the ice mistimes the setup even by a little bit, you can buffer a guard cancel, but that's very, very advanced tech. It's hard to explain. But there is a technical way out of it if the Vanilla Ice messes it up.
Yeah, and if they do mess it up, you can even block it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't leave you
it's very likely that they'll mess it up in a specific way. Oh, yeah. that dash fight B, sorry, from Avdol, the mid kick could have been confirmed into a hit grab. It's really nice thing that Avdol has. His dashing normals are pretty easy to confirm. Caught him slipping, caught him just walking, and then he tries to go for a stand crash setup. He is gonna eat an entire combo. He tries to go for a stand crash setup, right? But he messes it up because he didn't account for Avdol's stand gouge not being fully depleted by this attack. So he tries to go for a reset. He realizes, oh, I'm not going to get my combo here, right? And he turns his stand off midair. See, he actually tried to do this before. And Avdol calls it out. In fact, he did a 5A right there to try and hit him. But he didn't actually hit him out of the air. And so the Ice gets to do an overhead here, which looks pretty dumb.
How does that even hit?
I have no idea. It has a really big hitbox.
Let's look at it. Okay. Here. This is air, stand on air B or C?
Air C.
C.
He actually has 3 air C normals, depending on what direction he's holding.
Anyway.
This should be the neutral one. The previous one was 4, and then he has a 3-hit normal with 6 C.
This hit would have actually stand crashed.
Yeah, but he turned it off.
He turned his stand off. Avdol turned his stand off. Right here.
Yeah,
it's super fast. It's super fast. This is actually something new players don't realize too much, but turning your stand off and on in defense has no recovery. It's instantaneous.
It has
no commitment. Oh, if you're about to get stand crashed, just mash S. Just mash that fucking S button.
Until you see the block swing end, otherwise you're gonna turn it off and then back on again.
So a lot of the times you see like combos that get your stand gauge really low, and then they end it, and then they hit you with a button to stand crash you while you're blocking. It's never real. You could just turn your stand off, and they never get the reset. But anyway,
that's actually a really important thing to talk about. But talk about it later, I guess.
There's the 5A. The Ice turns the stand off.
And then he's a coward. Avdol is a coward. He should have kept on mashing 5A like a demon.
Here, Ice is falling down. Does jumping B, right?
Yeah.
Jumping B goes up above Avdol because I don't know why, but it just gets he goes upwards after falling and hits.
I think he tried to stand up and do something. Maybe
hits Abdallah and gets a combo here, a big combo, mind you.
Yeah. Good tandem. This is more of a standard tandem. And then he goes for the unblockable. There's
the unblockable to end
just
it.
To kill. He tried to do it again, but went for an empty jump low there. Tandem here. He tried to catch him with the tech, but couldn't actually hit him. And look at that dash 2C. It's still satisfying. It's the only way that Avdol can have a advantage right after doing that. That was smart from Divine Ice not to do anything during the tandem to try and to not get supered. That super is actually in the Chaka match. We're gonna talk about it. It's not as good as it looks.
Yeah, although it does do a lot of damage.
Yes, especially at low health, because there's a comeback mechanic in this game, where the lower health you have, the more damage you do.
Yeah, we've gone over that in the previous episode.
Yeah.
There
nice
we go.
super.
Big damage. Drops the tech follow-up.
Yeah, so ball right there, as you can see, it doesn't even hit Avdol right there. It's very, very weird to see. But as long as Magicians already start to block, and we're going to talk about it in the next match, you actually cannot hit Avdol. But it depends from the matchup. What tools you have can actually destroy remote or not.
But yeah, Avdol takes it.
So this is the next match, Chaka versus Avdol. This matchup is similar. It's very slow, but not for the same reason as Ice Avdol. Both of these characters will stay on the ground all the time and try to space each other out. Because they both have very long effective ranges. They sort of hang around each other's longest normal range, or for Chaka it would be 2 through 6 S range, I guess. And they don't get much damage out of their pokes. So it's just going to be really, really slow to watch this match, because they also can't really jump and go for reads, because they both can anti-air each other extremely well and easily. And we'll see the interactions while we watch the match, because it's really hard to talk about it here without visual reference. Yep. Chaka can go profile a lot of the things that Avdol does, but Avdol can try and preempt that with some of his slower normals, but the problem is that he may just get whiff punished.
Yeah, and like you
So
said,
here, this is very important to talk about.
Yeah, let's go back. Let's
sensor.
go back to that. And like you said, this match is played on the ground. Jumping gets you killed. It's Street Fighter the matchup most likely. But here we see one of Avdol's projectiles, and new players probably don't see this too much. It's called the sensor, the flame sensor. And why is it so good? And what does it do?
All right, it's probably Avdol's best neutral tool because it's very non-committal. As soon as it's out, it puts you in a advantageous defensive position, and by that I mean Avdol can sort of stand still and make you also not want to commit to anything, because the explosion can be used to combo on reaction. It can be used to even tick throw. It can be used to force a 50-50 between a 2A or an instant air JA or JB. And so the opponent is really disincentivized from going in, because Avdol can just block their normals and detonate the mine and then combo off of it. And as soon as it's out, it's basically just his turn all the time.
What's the motion? What's the motion for sensor?
2-1-4.
So Avdol goes 2-1-4 C, and as long as he holds C, the sensor will keep move on and track the opponent. And when he lets go of C, the sensor will explode. The sensor also has a certain amount of hits it can take, so I think here you can actually see Chaka tries to hit it a few times. See, he hits it once.
It's 3 hits.
Yeah, and as soon as Avdol lets C go, the sensor will explode, and we can actually go back, and I'll show you what Simon meant with the instant air. So here Avdol can dash up behind the sensor. He can go for a low, or he can jump up and go for a high, and so it's a 50-50. The opponent has to guess which direction he's gonna go for and block correctly, and if they get hit, Avdol lets go of the sensor, and it gives him enough hit stun to keep comboing into whatever he wants. It's a really good, it's an absolute space control tool. There's really no way around it.
There's very little that many characters can do. They can try to whiff normals to stop it, but then Avdol can detonate it and get a tandem.
Yeah. Actually it's very similar to Kaki and Nets, actually, in practice.
Yes, it's like a much weaker Kaku net.
Yeah, it is a much weaker one, but in practice it's almost the same concept. Really.
Yeah. So here, as you can see, he low profiles his stand on 5B with zone 2B. Look at this. They're basically staying almost always at the same range. Avdol's trying to stay at the range where he can do crossfire and try to stop him. And here we see one of Avdol's best tools, remote. Let's rewind and look at the situation more thoroughly, because it's pretty interesting. So here he, I think he gets to activate remote. Where is it? Yeah, he gets to activate remote here. After a fireball to follow it in, and he uses the fireball thanks to Magician's really fast walk speed. If you look at this, it's so fast as a tick throw. It's a very loose tick throw, but it's all right. And here he walks back because Chaka could just tech into him and try to hit Avdol. Now here the Chaka made a big mistake, in my opinion, because you really don't want to jump really high, because you could have supered and hit Avdol. He has a super that goes really far. Could have just slipped under him.
Yeah, right.
And here the Avdol also kills him really well.
Right here. Here.
Boom. Yeah.
Chaka could go and take out like this much of Avdol's life, because remote plus extra damage.
Actually, not exactly, because it depends whether an attack will do extra damage. By the way, because just for new players who don't know what this is, this remote mode, Avdol is controlling Magician's Zarythe, but he's still vulnerable, and he will take extra damage unless he's knocked out of it immediately. Some attacks knock him out differently than others, and they will not get the extra damage. Others will. I think if it directly puts you out of stand on, if the attack would knock you out of stand on immediately without actually doing the stand gouge damage, it won't do extra damage. But if it does just so much stand gouge damage that it'll just stand crash you normally, then it does get the extra damage. Chaka supers don't do that.
Yeah.
Which is kind of unfortunate, but you know,
It's
1 meter to just be out of this stupid situation.
It's still a lot of damage. It's remote's big risk, high reward.
Yeah, it's high risk, high reward, and it's not super big reward, but the reward really is how much control you get from it.
Yeah, you get a lot of
because
space.
You can walk in. First of all, your fireball has shorter recovery. Your walk speed is ridiculous, and you get to put your opponent right here. If you look at this situation, Chuck is not actually in the corner, but he's still cornered. So he has to sort of hang back until Magician's Red does something. Or, you know, commit, but at that point, Avdol can also stop him like this, with an anti-air.
Also, the never-before-seen move. 2C.
Oh, yes. It's a type kick. Safe on block, combo and hit, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Almost never used, though.
Yes. Because it requires you to jump, which is bad in remote. Unless you have a sensor on the opponent. So look at this situation here. Can you rewind because my mouse disappeared? Okay, I see. Right here.
You do have control.
It wouldn't let me. Don't worry. Okay, so here Avdol tries to use his crossfire to get a mix up in. But Chaka actually low profiles it. Can you find there it is, there it was.
Yeah.
Chaka can low profile it very easily, both in stand on and stand off. He waits for the fireball to get in. He waits for Chaka to do something, and he ends up doing nothing. It's really easy for Avdol to commit to something like that and then get hit out of it. And Chaka is a character that does that very well, so that's why he waited. Okay, so he tries to get out of the corner immediately. See how slow this is. This is still the first round, by the way. We had a lot to talk about, but the 20 seconds left. And he's gonna die right here.
Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah. He tried to anti-air him, but went for the wrong timing. Chaka delayed his tech and got him. So that dash-in is not really great, but yeah, look at the roll profile. The dash-in is not great, but it helps him stop Avdol from doing things.
Runner in. Doesn't hit him with the what is that?
Yeah, but cancels it on whip.
Yeah, if that would have hit, he could have gotten a combo from that, I think. So yeah, not really a good option against
That dash
Chaka.
2C is really good because it also catches jumps, and it's 0 on block and 0 on hit. But it has like 6 stack difference, so you can hit it deep and get a combo out of it. So here, the sensor allows him to just activate for free. But he takes a little too much liberty with the fireball and tries to walk in and gets hit again. That stand on DP has actual invincibility, by the way.
It's a real DP.
Yeah. Again, the spacing game is really precise. Because if Avdol does something that Chaka can low profile.
Ooh.
Yeah. Look at this, very nice anti-air. And another tech chase. But both of these were tech chases. So he does the super here, just on a prayer, I guess. And we'll see why that's not good later. Chaka gets hit, he techs, and he backs up just to be right at the right range to anti-air him.
Right here.
Yes. Actually, it's actually here, I think. Yes. So the super happens. He dashes back, and he's in the perfect range to hit him with an anti-air, as Chaka cannot hit him.
And right here, gets the air confirm. He walks a little bit back to make sure that if Chaka techs forward or neutral, he can still get him with the stand on normal.
That son of a has the perfect priority to beat the jump in right there.
Yeah.
Really good spacing.
And if Chaka would have teched backwards, he could have chased him, or put it up the sensor.
Yeah, but basically, this little game for Avdol is very important because he can exploit any tech that the opponent does. If they decide to back off, he can use a sensor. He can use the space that he just built to safely put on a sensor on the screen, which, again, it allows him to set up remote safely. It allows him to build meter. It allows him to just wait and see if the opponent tries to challenge the sensor. It's really, really strong. And if the opponent techs into him, he has a plethora of options. He can do a stand on 6A. He can do stand on DP. He can do pretty much anything. And if the opponent techs neutral like that, he can, on reaction, try to punish it. So Avdol probably has the best, best or second best, depends on who you ask, tech chases in the game. See there, he tried again, but he traded. But it's still alright for Avdol. Oh, and this is also one thing that he does very well. A lot of players, when they find themselves in this situation, especially new players, the opponent blocks one of their air normals. A lot of players, they see that as an opportunity to get another jump in.
Oh yeah.
And this is what
in case you didn't know, you can
Avdols do all the time.
You can
they just
block
want
in
that
the air.
JC.
You can block in
and
the
so
air.
they would jump in again and try to get them with another air-to-air. But the right thing to do, especially in a situation like this one, is get a guaranteed anti-air. This anti-air right here is ground unblockable. Oh, sorry, air unblockable. And so he gets to get free damage rather than hope for a JC.
Yeah, let me explain that for the new guys, because you're going over a lot of stuff, but you gotta understand. Not a lot of new players might not understand why something works.
I'm sorry, I do that a lot.
You can air block any air attack, but if you're in the ground and you try to block if your opponent's in the ground and you try to block in the air, any grounded normal will be air unblockable, and some grounded supers or special also will be air unblockable. So keep that in mind. So that's why that works. So he lands after the air attack is blocked. He lands before Chaka gets a grounded S on normal in, and it's air unblockable. So technically Chaka just could not have done anything there. And that's why that works.
Yeah. He used that crossfire to get a 50-50 again. He could have done a jumping attack, which is an overhead, or a low. He went for the low and Chaka blocked it.
There's also, real quick, we can see the sensor actually working.
Yes. He blocks an attack and then he detonates it.
Yeah, detonates
it. He couldn't combo it, unfortunately.
Yeah, but technically just steals Chaka's turn back. No block strings for you.
Yeah. And then a jump.
Whoa.
Oh, mashes out. He went for a standoff dive kick, which he used for a mix-up.
He tried to go for
he tries to get a CDP, but it doesn't actually work.
Again?
And the temp is punished.
Tandem is punishable even if you don't input anything. Just as long as you hit the stand when it's right next to you, you can punish it.
Yeah, and then that Truth or Success is so fast that it actually combos him before he can disappear.
Yep. Keep that in mind. If someone does a tandem full screen, or not even full screen, just doesn't even confirm it into a combo, try to punish it. Always try to punish it, unless it's
especially
something.
If they didn't press anything.
Yeah, unless they delay. Unless they delay, and you hear like a weird input. So they're not doing like ABC. They're delaying it and then do a weird input. That probably means they're doing a super in tandem. So you don't want to press a button into that. But even then, it's punishable, even if they do a super, but it means that if you fuck the punish up, they get the super. So, keep it in mind. It's a Yomi situation.
Stand crash setup. Still not very high damage, but it's without a specific tech, it's as good as it gets.
Ooh, what a good meaty. Series of meaties there. Drops it though.
Again, he's turning the stand on and off to try to throw him off. so that suddenly he's stand on doing a normal that he wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. He's trying to mix his pokes up here because it kind of helps the situation.
Jumps over the sensor.
I think the Avdol chickened out of that sensor because he wanted to push block. As long as you're holding a button, you can't push block. And look at that.
What happens here?
This is why the super is not good to do just at random. In this matchup specifically, but in any matchup really.
It has so many startup frames before, like the invincibility frames are here, but the super doesn't start up even after him, so it's still starting up here. And I think if he hadn't kicked on this specific frame, he would have gotten hit, but he cancels his super. It's not that good.
Yes, it's a reversal. It's
alright,
but if it gets blocked, it's still punishable. A lot of people just don't because they don't know.
Every character can do this. Just
not just Chaka here. Every character can do that.
Yeah, if his close up does it, you can just on reaction hit your fastest button.
Yeah,
kick him
and
out
at
of
least hit him out of it.
Yeah, he loses 1 meter, and potentially
because
takes
again, if you block it, he gets a sensor, even if it didn't do damage, even if it didn't do chip. Look at it again.
Another series of meters.
Yeah, this is going really well for Chaka.
Let's wake up around. Whoa.
Low profiles the fireball and gets out. Very smart. And another punish.
Look at that. Doesn't
never
get the
do that
juggle.
super just like that.
I think this is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think especially after the super, you can always get a juggle. It's pretty hard though.
Not necessarily, not on every character, but he tried here.
Yeah.
And he probably could have gotten it. I think he was too far away.
But you can get a juggle on some characters and specific situations, right? Yeah, that's what I thought. And you can also get a second super if you get a juggle with 660. I think I've seen it happen.
Does it again, and as you can see, even if it traded, it's still good. This Avdol just threw away this entire round with supers.
Look at this. It trades.
Slide to success.
And you still win.
Yeah. It's not a great trade, but the thing is that you're not going to get hit by the whole super because the projectiles lose their hitbox as soon as the person who generated them gets hit.
Alright, and as the last matchup here, we have Vanilla Ice versus Chaka. And again, we have the same situation as before. It's mostly neutral. Both of these characters have an amazing stand-on pokes. Chaka a little less so, but for that he does have the ability to somewhat stay mobile. And again,
yes, he
Ice
has longer range than Vanilla Ice specifically, especially with his 2-3 success. It's very strong.
Ice especially does have to chase Chaka a little bit in this matchup. But here we go.
There's not much to say about this matchup. It's very straightforward. They're both trying to. I guess Ice is trying to get in really much because he's got a really good reward, and Chaka here gets a really nice combo, but it drops it actually.
This is a VOD from Game Versus, taken from so-called Kane's channel. To give him a subscription, he uploads the Game Versus VODs for JoJo's sometimes, and Game Versus does stream on Twitch every first Sunday of the month or last Sunday?
Every last Sunday of the month.
Every last Sunday of the month on Twitch at Game Versus, they stream 4 hours of JoJo's matches, so keep that in mind.
So here, Chaka is kind of stuck in the corner for a while because if he techs backwards, he's still gonna get hit. But he was kind of hungry, I guess, for a combo, but kept teching inside the corner, which is really bad. It's weird how this Chaka is not very end-hearing very well, and here the Vanilla is just taking advantage of that. That's per custom combo.
Gets out of the corner though.
Good enough.
Gets bullied by 2C, which is one of Ice's best buttons. Gives you a knockdown on hit. which gives him an unblockable OK on knockdown, and if it gets blocked, it's safe. It's just safe.
Yeah.
The best
I think it's still minus, but it's very hard to punish, like almost impossible.
Yeah, the best you can do is
look at this.
Jesus Christ, you can jump it, but this here is what you would call an epic read. The best goddamn whiff punish I've seen in this game.
It's not a whiff punish. I think he counter hit at dashing normal. He just did a jab check. He's like, okay, if he dashes in, and I see this jab hit.
He's reacting to the dash, yeah, and then Dex the dashing S on 2A.
Yeah.
Custom combo.
That's one of the better things that custom combo does. It's really good to confirm off of single buttons like that.
Yeah, and then just gets them around there.
And immediately round start combo.
Drops the tandem control.
Chaka's not gonna do him the same favor. Oh well, I guess he is. He's dropping all these.
Oh man, Lord.
Dirty.
So yeah, like in the Avdol Ice, we saw Ice do the funny looking overhead mix up. Here's the same thing, but in the Chaka matchup. So in the air,
like, hi, hello.
Turn off your stand 5B, or jumping B.
Yeah.
Look at those
legs. It's really
legs. Look at those legs.
Look at his face.
Oh Lord! Look at this lanky ass boy. Gets him with
Kicks
the
him in the face into a combo.
Yeah, just knocks Chaka the fuck out.
Yeah. That is a nice thing that Chaka has in the matchup here is that if he's crouching, he's stand on 5A. Sorry, Vanilla Ice's standoff 5A doesn't hit him. So here in the combo, he's forced to do 2A. In another context,
that's a crouch cancel right there, is it not? Is it not? Whatever. Anyway, this overhead, it's like what, some in 24 frames. But look at how fast it is, and look at how weird it looks. You're not gonna be blocking that first time you see it. It's so weird.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about. He has to mash 2A. Mashing 2A actually reduces the damage by a lot. You want to do 5A because it's just so... It chains hits much faster.
Nice confirm.
Again, this Chaka is just trying to do things, and the one is just whiffing buttons, and there's kind of nothing you can do about it.
Ooh. Tries to get the punish, but gets whiff punished.
Yeah, he I think the Chaka just kind of expected it and so waited.
Yeah.
For sure, here it doesn't get to kill him.
You're stuck in the
and
corner.
All the the damage differential for single hit pokes is so big. This matchup, it's really sad.
And now this is almost impossible for Chaka.
Yes,
because
it's really hard.
Just
kick it out of the air.
When you are in this situation and you need to get in on Ice, it's GG's.
Yeah.
When Ice needs to get to you, it's kind of fine. Like you can kind of manage it. But if you need to get to Ice, you're fucked. You're done. You're done, homie. Gets kicked in the nuts.
There's very little you can do.
But that's
so that was the last match.
That was the last one. And if you want to say anything at the end, like
about this match specifically,
like just summarize all the matchups. What do you want? What you should do and what you shouldn't do with each character. Summarize them all.
Yeah, well, in these matchups specifically, we've seen some pretty slow ones, but it's really hard to talk about them without the visual reference. In general, Avdol really just wants to control the space, and as you can see in the Avdol versus Ice matchup, it works extremely well because Ice just can't get in. it's really hard for him. He has to kind of run his face into Avdol, and if he's throwing fireballs, he just won't get in at all. So it's really important to know when you can take your space and set up a sensor or throw a fireball, and be patient. Really, really just be patient, especially in a matchup like this, where one slip and you die.
If Avdol wants to control space, and that's what he should do, what is something Avdol shouldn't do in matches like this?
Well, just jump in, especially against Vanilla Ice and Chaka, because they both have anti-airs that can just slap you out of the air. They're much faster than your jump arc. If you really want to jump in, you should hop in. The space that you build, especially against the ice, is very important, and just getting into his face to get hit by a couple of normals is really just going to get you killed. So my first advice to any Avdols starting up is be patient. Stay on the ground. Don't jump. Don't be greedy. Just throw fireballs. Try to stop him from dashing in. And if he ever is in the air, stand on. Unless he gets down to the ground immediately, you can try and anti-air him or set up a sensor. Just be smart. Don't run your face into him.
All right. What about Chaka? What should Chaka do and what he shouldn't do in matchups like this? So Avdol or Ice, or in general.
In general, well, he has really good options for the mid range because he's very short, especially stand on. He can sort of maneuver around the opponent's tools, as we saw in the Avdol matchup. It doesn't work as well in others, especially if the opponent has really fast whiffing normals. You really need to be on your toes with your reactions, and it's hard to do unless you're in on a cab, because a normal CPS-III board, which is what this game is played on when it comes to arcade hardware, has very short input delay, and so it's easy to react to things. Well, if you're playing this on a normal PC with off-brand monitor on a keyboard with this kind of emulator, it's really hard to do these things because there's just going to be extra input delay. So Chaka, it's hard for him to do some things like the dead jab confirm that we saw
in FBA's defense. The input delay is minimal at best. Like I wouldn't even say it's a frame.
I think it's for CPS-III emulation. I think FBA is like a frame and a half slower than the cab.
Because I've played both, and I do say that they both feel the exact same. Honestly,
yeah, the difference is very small, but it's definitely there. But yeah, Chaka is very reaction based. He's low reward in most of the things that he does, and so a lot of Chaka players rely on this hyper hop, and I feel like that's a weakness because as soon as your opponent figures that out, they can just anti-air you, and even if they trade, suddenly a non-double jumper is in the air, and chances are the character that just anti-aired you can do it again. And if they don't do that because you teched back, suddenly you lost space. Especially against Ice, you can just build meter for free and make you even more frustrated. Like this Chuck, I think, ran his face into the opponent's spokes a little too much. But how well you can sort of play around that is really dependent on the matchup. Ice really bullies people because of this. You try to whiff punish, but you just can't. It's really hard. Right. And unless you have Abdol's priority, it's really hard to just challenge him to preemptively stop him. And if you have zoning tools, he's kind of in a mess. So much that characters like Rubber Soul can also zone him out. And this is a good segue into playing Ice.
There, let me just say it. So, all right, that's what Chaka has to do. What about Ice? So those Ice-mans out there, they want to get good. What should they do? What shouldn't they do?
I think they shouldn't. First of all, do stand on ball. Don't do it. Just don't. It'll just get you killed against anybody half competent.
Also, S off ball. Holy shit,
Yeah,
don't do that.
yeah, but that one will get you punished against pretty much anybody. They'll at least get a normal.
And any of the
But
ball
stand on ball is
supers.
really gimmicky.
And ball supers while we're at it. Don't do those.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Don't
terrible.
do ball super.
They're terrible.
They'll
as
do
well.
12 AA.
Yeah.
What they should do is get the combos down very well. Even just 2A, 2A, 6B into Tandem. Having a weapon like that is like having a gun in neutral. If you can do a standoff dash 2A into a combo, you're good. Suddenly you have something that you can do. What's even better is if you learn how to do an instant overhead, people will be trying to walk back to try and be out of its range a lot more, or they'll try to actually high block, and suddenly you have a 50-50. You get to force them to guess from a distance where they normally wouldn't have to. You can just either dash in or do this instant overhead, and it's enough to make people antsy, really anxious about what to do, and make mistakes over and over again. I think he's the perfect character for doing that. He just scares you and makes you do mistakes without even being someone like a grappler. It doesn't matter. He can just do a lot of high damage, and if you have that high damage, it's enough even if you don't have the super optimized combo. What you shouldn't do is think that you can just mash normals forever and just win like that, because if the opponent realizes that you're going to have meter at any point, they're just going to stop trying to challenge you. And if you lose your patience first, then the opponent has something that they can pull on you, and figure out what your favorite times to dash in are, preemptively stop you, get combos out of you.
Oh yeah, and especially if you have they have the life lead, and you want to get in, that's when you're gonna get punished for just bad rush down and just bad options, because you're too impatient. So that's Vanilla Ice's biggest downside, is just he needs to always chase you, and if the opponent knows how to make you chase him in bad ways, you're gonna get fucked.
Absolutely. The Ice really needs to be patient, not only because in many matchups he just can't get in for free, but also because if he just turtles well enough, the matchup is free. You don't need to really do anything against many matchups. The opponent will just get annoyed by you standing at full screen whiffing normals for meter and run their face into you. You don't need to run risks. What you really want to do is have consistent combos and good enough foresight to know when to dash in and when not. And also know how to offset the fact that while you're in there and stand on, it's really a problem. Just run away, just air dash away. It's not worth to try and get like jump-ins, because you're not going to get them.
Yeah.
All
right, that's about it. Thank you for watching this week's episode of JoJo's Match Analysis. Next week, we'll be looking at some other characters, most likely some Polnareff and some Whole Horse, with a special guest to tell us how to play these characters. But we'll see you then, and I hope you have a good one.
Thank you so much for watching.
Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye.
Bye bye.